Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're giving you our Week 5 Fantasy Football Waiver Wire pickups. We're here to help you find all of the guys that you need to get off the waiver wire and all the guys that you should probably avoid. Let's start this Fantasy Football podcast right meow.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Fantasy Football Upside. I am Justin, that is Kyle. Thanks for dropping by our Fantasy Football podcast and YouTube channel. So glad that you're here.
Yeah.
Thank you to all the new subscribers and everybody that's been here from the beginning.
Yep.
Appreciate you joining the Upside with us all here. Week 5 is already here, Kyle. I can't believe it, man. This feels like the season's just flying by.
It sort of is,
but
yeah.
It is, man. Every week, we are going to give you the players you need to target on the waiver wire, which is what we're going to do for these Week 5 waivers. So we're going to help find the value in players that others may overlook. So I think we got a couple of those today. So follow along as we're going to help you win that championship.
There it is.
There it is. All right, Kyle, what you got right before we get into it?
Hey, guys, go ahead.
We'll cut that
somehow. We'll fix it in post. Yeah. We'll do it live.
Oh, yeah. No.
So, guys.
We'll leave it in there.
Yeah, here we go. All right. That was chaos there, just so you know, just talking over each other completely. Click that like button while you're here, guys. If you like listening to a couple of nincompoops, I guess, talk about fantasy football, and, hit that subscribe button as well. We do talk about the live stream every once in a while, and the only way to get on the live stream and ask us questions during that is if you are subscribed. And if you click the bell, you'll be notified when we actually go live, right? We're still a roadshow this weekend, Justin. We're still a roadshow. I think I'm a man without a nation or something like that, right? All right, so let's hit this up here. We've got waiver wire pickups. We talk about guys who are not rostered in 60% or less leagues, right? On Yahoo. That's just the metric we use. I know some people don't play on Yahoo, but a lot of people do. So we just use that as our, our high water mark. All right. Yep. So if you have a question, feel free to drop that question down below. Just raise your hand and say, "Little help. Little help now." Yeah, and actually last week somebody did. Captain C. Baker actually literally wrote "little help." Had his question, little help now. So yeah, it was perfect. All right, guys, let's dive in headfirst into the shallow end and get going on this. We've got waiver wire pickups for you. Justin, I think you're going to hit us first with your running back pickup of the week. What do you have?
I am. It's going to be Damian Williams of the Chicago Bears. Yes, he is with the Chicago Bears, everybody, if you didn't know that. 9% rostered out there, and we're using Yahoo Fantasy, so 9% rostered right now. That's going to change a little bit. But I will say, right when I get started here, Bears have caught a break here because it looks like David Montgomery's injury is not going to be a season long. Could be just a week, maybe 2, maybe none. Yeah. But we're going to look at this as it gets closer to, Sunday's game for the Bears. But it does look like this could be a guy, if Williams does slide into the starter role, he could get you a top 24 running back value. So he looked good filling in for Montgomery. Yeah, he could, but here's the thing. He did show that he was explosive. He's versatile. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. One note, he did suffer a little thigh bruise towards the end of the game, so not only is Montgomery hurt a little bit, but Williams should be just fine. Now, this is a guy that opted out of the 2020 season, so he should be a little more fresh, a little more healthy, ready to go. And he does have some history in fantasy football, as I think the last time I actually won in our league, he helped me win the championship, Kyle.
Oh, God, was that like 9 years ago now?
It was Nom. Since Nom. It was Nom. Yeah. But it's a solid addition, but with everything considered when it comes to David Montgomery, you shouldn't miss that many games. I wouldn't break the bank, everybody, so I wouldn't maybe do your top waiver claim or not your full fab budget or anything like that, but I would say put a decent little budget down, maybe 5 to 10%.
Yeah, I mean, the best you're really going to get here is 2 weeks out of him, and probably less, actually, is what you're going to end up with. So I wouldn't go blow the bank on him. A guy, though, that I would spend up a little bit on because he just keeps getting more and more opportunity is Kenny Gainwell, right? Kenny G, he's 27% rostered right now. He's over there on the Philadelphia Eagles. I feel like we've been talking about Gainwell for weeks, weeks, right?
Forever.
Because we have been, actually. We've been talking about this guy. We've been mentioning his name here and there. During the offseason, we had Gainwell as a sleeper. At the beginning of the season, we said, hey, guess what, Sanders? Gainwell's coming for your job, bud. And look at what's happening, right? Last week, Kenny G was on the field when it mattered the most at the end of that game. They needed a running back to just hit some home runs, and that's what happened. And actually, in our league, your brother has Sanders, and he was just crying on the text chain about where is he? What's going on? Yeah, because Kenny G was out there.
He's just on the bench.
Yeah, he's just not on the field because they needed a pass catching back at that moment. Look, Gainwell is explosive in the passing game. He has better vision than Sanders, it seems, as well in the passing game. Once he gets outside of that 8-man box, he's just moving like crazy. They're using him a ton in the passing game, and if they decide to start shifting some of the run plays his way, you could have a great flex play turn into an RB2 with upside, I think, there. So, oh yeah, he was running back 11 on the week heading into Monday Night Football on week 4. That's right. So, that's a guy that, a lot of people are going to be surprised to see coming because, look, he's 27% rostered right now, right? We've said it for weeks, though. You needed to get this guy on your roster, slot him in on the back end of your roster. And if he starts getting some uptick in running opportunity, man, it's huge. And if Sanders goes down, this guy steps right into that role. I really do believe. I don't think this is a situation where Boston Scott jumps him, where it's one of those like, oh, yeah, you're the third down back, but you're not the backup back, I don't think that's the case at all. So I think he gets carries right off the bat. So, yep. All right.
I mean, like you said, Boston Scott just absolutely disappeared. He was a decent running back last year, and Kenny Gainwell completely outplayed him in the offseason.
This is a rookie. He's outplaying the starter. This is a rookie.
Yes.
Doing this. So,
yep.
Yeah. All right. What do you have on wide receiver?
Yes, sir. Wide receiver, I have Devante Parker, Miami Dolphins, 47% rostered right now.
Oh, you chopped a little bit there. I just want to make sure everybody knows it's not Devante Parker. It's Devante Parker. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Devante Parker.
Yeah, Devante.
Sorry, having a little issues with my microphone here. But 7.7 targets per game is what he's getting right now, and that's enough to be an everyday starter. So the only thing that we've been waiting on is a touchdown, and he got that this last week. But if you were watching that game, that was not a freaking touchdown, Kyle.
No.
That was not a touchdown.
No, it wasn't.
I'm a little bitter. But,
would you win your game this week in our league if it wasn't?
No. It was just the fact it was going against my Colts. Colts still won, but it was just like, that's Bush League. Here's another thing. Stop me if you've heard this, Kyle. Will Fuller exited the Week 4 game with an injury.
Yeah.
Have you heard that before?
No? I don't know if it was a Week 4 game in the past, but I've heard the exiting a game with an injury part many times. So I think that like 2 seasons or last season it was that he strung together like 6 or 7 games in a row for the first time in his career. So that was, but he was on.
That's bad.
He was on the performance enhancement. So everybody kind of thinks, oh, finally his tendons held together just because of that.
Yeah. But it looks like Jacoby Brissett, who's still the quarterback right now, as Tua is still recovering, he likes to throw to taller players, as Devonta and Mike Gesicki are the ones that are, the main benefiter of having Jacoby at quarterback, which is the only 2 people in there. But it looks like, in relief of Tua, those 2 are the favorite targets right now. And here's to hoping we see the 2019 version of Devante Parker, who finished as the number 6 wide receiver.
Yeah.
And here's another little tidbit for you. He's actually averaging roughly the same number of targets he did when he did that in 2019.
Oh, that was like a 12-plus target season, man. Each game, it was crazy.
No, it was actually about 8.
Yeah, oh, really? Okay.
I looked it up.
There were some games, though.
So
that I remember having him in a game, and he scored like 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. And it was like the first week of the playoffs or second week of the playoffs. It was pretty crazy. So, I mean,
that's nuts, man.
Yeah. A lot of people didn't run out and get him then either. It's just, it's this offense that's not very flashy, not very showy. And there's a lot of reasons to avoid it. But he just typically, I don't know, he just gets it done. And he's one of those guys that manages it every single week. So, a lot of people just let him fly under the radar. All right, I got a wide receiver here. Yep. You're going to cheat and give us another wide receiver in a second, but I've got Randall Cobb. He's 10% rostered. A little bit of a homer pick, right? Obviously. But hey, welcome back to the NFL from your Texas banishment there, Randy. right? I mean, he was down in Dallas and he's been down in Houston. Yeah, man, he got around down there and in the meantime disappeared. It seems like it's been forever, right? It's only been 3 seasons, I think, if I remember correctly. So it just seems a lot longer than it has been. Obviously, I wouldn't go below the budget on this player, but there's a lot of reasons to think of him positively here. First, finished wide receiver 5 on the week heading into into Monday Night Football, right? The key here for me is actually the targeting opportunities that he had. He went 5 of 6 for 69 yards and 2 touchdowns, right? So why is it something to be paying attention to, right? This guy is older. He's on the downside of his career, obviously. It's not an offense that really is targeting anybody beyond Devonta Adams consistently. So why am I suggesting it here? Well, Marquez Valdez-Scantling is now on IR, so it's likely that Cobb and the other wide receivers not named Devonta Adams on Green Bay will get a ton more opportunity. I think that that's primarily going to go to Cobb because Rodgers has shown an affinity for working with guys or targeting guys who he has a history with or a chemistry with. And I think nothing less can be said of Randall Cobb than the fact that the two of them have chemistry. I mean, look at the just game-winning drives the two of them have put together before Adams was known as the best wide receiver in the league, right? I mean, look at the late season game against the Bears where it was a fourth quarter drive where Chris Conti snuck up and Cobb went right behind him and they hit it for a touchdown to win the game, that kind of thing. Or the one where it was just a riff and it was that first it was opening week 2 years ago or 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever it was, that Monday night game, and Cobb took it to the house, right? And it was that game that Rodgers got hurt, came back. And so you cannot ignore the fact that Cobb is going to do things with Rodgers that MVS wasn't, that Equanimous St. Brown wasn't. Lazard, though he's an amazing blocker, is more like a tight end than he is a wide receiver at this point, guys. So Cobb, in my mind, wide receiver 2 on a very high-powered offense. So I would actually be willing to roster him and see if he can turn it into something more. If he's consistent, you might have a flex player there. What do you have about your cheater wide receiver here?
My cheater wide receiver is Curtis Samuel of the Washington
That might have to become a
team.
thing. We might have to have that be a thing. Right.
Yeah. Is this? Did we just start something?
Yeah, the cheater wide receiver. I mean, it sounds really a lot worse than it actually is, right? You call
maybe we.
Who's your cheater of the week?
Maybe we should check that a little bit. But he's 48% rostered
Besides,
right now.
the cheater of the week was the guy that you talked about before, who had the non-touchdown touchdown, right?
Yes. Okay, that was cheating.
I'm not calling him a cheater.
But Curtis Samuel, he finally made his season debut in week 4. He only saw 4 targets, very minimal gain. But my addition to this list, putting him on here is for the projection of this season. It's going to be really hard for you to get him this next week, and he's going to be eased into the game, and that's what he was in week 4. He only played 37% of the team's offensive snaps, still got 4 targets. But here's the thing: they're going to have to push him in to more and more offensive snaps because the loss of Logan Thomas, who was probably the second or third receiving option behind, of course, Scary Terry, and then you got the running back J.D. McKissic. So I think right now it's going to be Curtis Samuel and J.D. McKissic fighting for those number 2 receiving options in this offense that is still throwing it quite a bit with Taylor Heineke, which I've liked what I've seen out of Heineke.
Yep.
But another thing I look for, yes, Curtis Samuel's coming to a new team, but this is not a new offense for him. There's a lot of familiarity with this because the current OC was the interim offensive coordinator in Carolina in 2019, and he was also the QB coach there for many years. So he knows this offense, and Samuel has shown that he can be explosive in the past as well as versatile. I mean, he's going to get targets in that short, mid-range, but you're going to see him get a couple rushes on just some jet sweeps and just trying to get the ball in his hands. Because once he can get out in the open field, it's hard to get him down because of how explosive he is.
Yep. Yeah. He's
what do you think of my cheater wide receiver?
Guy. I like it. He's a decently sized guy, so I think that they're going to try to use him a ton. With CMC kind of hobbled and out right now, I think that it's
wrong team, buddy. Washington football team now.
That's where he used to be, right? He used to be in Carolina. It's the same offense, but yeah. They use undersized running backs anyway, so getting him involved in the running game is something I think you could see a lot of. Wow, just total brain fart there. Okay, so I've got my tight end here. It's Dawson Knox, 33% rostered. Why is he still available? Why? All this guy does is get targets and touchdowns, right? He's gone last week 5 for 8 with 37 yards. Not that great exactly, but he had 2 touchdowns. He had a touchdown the week before and a touchdown the week before that as well. So at this point, you can't really ignore him anymore. Obviously, touchdowns are a very high variance, statistic. So you can't rely on that. But at tight end, that's really where it is. You get a tight end 1 if he gets a touchdown. Well, this guy's got huge upside with regard to that. And there's not a whole lot of real consistent guys beyond Diggs here. So why not? Why not take a flyer on a guy who's potentially the number 2 target on this offense for the most part? If you're struggling to find a tight end that's consistent at all, Knox could be the best move for you. It's not exactly the most yardage that you're going to get, but 40 and a touchdown is what we see as a tight end 1. Yeah,
that could be elite tight end.
Yeah, the only warning I have is just in case Justin picks him up. I think he's still available in our league. So if Justin picks him up, I'll warn you all to go ahead and drop him right away because he won't make it through the first quarter. It's not just tight ends; it's all positions. Justin's team in our league, he's just a player killer. So yeah.
I'm just and the other leads I'm in, I'm doing quite great.
Yeah, this one you just murder everybody you drafted. I don't know what it is. Yeah.
I drafted based off of ESPN, Yahoo, Fantasy Pros. Drafted one of the best teams.
Yep.
And yet they're all hurt.
Yep.
Oh well.
Yeah. CMC, Logan Thomas. Who else have you lost? Mike Davis for a little while.
T. Higgins, AJ Brown, Gus Edwards. Right before the season started.
Yep.
I mean, we drafted right before the season, of course.
Yeah, 2 days, 3 days.
A day or 2 before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right. What do you got at tight end?
My tight end. I have Max Williams. Who? Yes, Max Williams, 2% rostered out there. If anybody follows NFL, you've known of this name for quite a while because he's been around, but it definitely feels like he's been around for a long time, but he's still only 27 years old. He came in young. He was a second-round pick in 2015 with the Vikings. But the thing is with Max Williams, he has struggled with injuries throughout his career, and I think that's kind of what has stunted his development. I mean, you're not a second-round tight end pick for just being a Joe Schmo kind of guy. No, he had a lot of talent in college. So
I mean, it could be if it's the Vikings. They don't draft the greatest. I mean, outside of Dalvin Cook,
That's true. But are we finally seeing what Max can be? Maybe. You don't really see too many players at 27 finally break out to what they were supposed to be. But
yeah,
he is averaging right around 4 targets per game. Whoa, control yourself, 4 targets. But it's quite a bit in tight end world, but this number's on the rise. He only had 1 target in week 1, so you get rid of that one. He's averaging a lot more. Still small sample size. I want to see what else he does. But if you got a spot there towards the end of the bench, that's what I would do, but he is down the pecking order when it comes to receiving opportunities, but it looks like Kyler has looked his way in the red zone a few times because a lot of his opportunities have come in the red zone down the seam. So it's not something to ignore.
Yeah.
2 of the 4 weeks that we've played so far, he's finished as an elite tight end, Kyle. So for us, that's top 6 finish.
Yeah.
So 2 of the 4, 50%. That's
there
not
you go.
bad. I mean, you might get a couple of bust weeks, but we're just waiting for AJ Green to get hurt because it's going to happen. So that's one less, receiving option out there. So you could do worse. I'm not saying start him right away, but if you got a little spot available, try it out.
Yeah, why not? And then we can toss in a couple honorable mentions. We got Dalton Schultz, what's his name? Blake Jarwin, and then CJ Uzoma, right? Check out all 3 of those guys.
Yeah.
Tell us what you think down below in the comments on all 3 of those. Do you think those are any better than either of the tight ends that we've talked about? Obviously, there's a lot of reasons to like all those guys. A lot of reasons to like the guys we've named here. All right, let's hit QBs here and then close it out. Taylor Heineke I have at QB as my waiver wire pickup. 10% rostered right now. Finished as QB5 going into the Monday Night Football game. This isn't exactly an aberration, which is what's wild here. The fact that he's only 10% rostered, but he's been a QB1 3 out of the 4 weeks that he's been in. And one of those weeks, the one that he didn't finish, he wasn't the starter. So that's kind of interesting, right? I mean, so he's got a QB10, QB12 finish on the books here and QB5 this week. So that's pretty good. This isn't really like a hugely high-powered offense that you think of in the way that you see a few of these other ones out there, just, Tampa Bay throwing the lights out of the stadium, all that sort of stuff, right? But he's still getting it done. Low yardage, but he's still getting it done. If you're looking for a bye week fill-in, Heineke is a good one. This is not the week for that, though. They're facing the Saints, and QBs have not fared well against this defense so far this year. So I would be a little wary of putting Heineke out there if you've got some sort of fill-in that you're looking for there, guys. Heineke, in my mind, not really likely to break the pattern of the Saints being effective against QBs in fantasy football, at least. You have to like how he's been able to put together some yardage. It's not been a ton, but his accuracy really hasn't been great, and that's the knock on him here. So an inaccurate quarterback who's throwing probably somewhere around 55% accuracy, that's not great. Somewhere between 55 and 60%. You need them up over 60%. You'd like to see them closer to 65 usually to be able to rely on them to consistently put weeks together for you. And so what is working for him right now is that he has been extremely consistent with getting passing touchdowns. I don't think that's exactly likely to change a ton because you've got pass catching running backs in this offense. You don't have a bruiser, a guy who's going to go in from the 5 and they're just going to, put their head down and plow through the middle of that defense, right? They're going to try to get around the edge with a pass to the running backs or something to that effect, a wide receiver screen, all kinds of things like that, right? Because that's the way that you can get into the end zone when you don't have those big running backs. Short passing game where it gets it out in front, with blockers and stuff in that sort. So I think Heineke is actually a great pickup if you've got, only one running back or a QB on your bench right now or on your roster. He could be a great one to have. I would assume he's probably rostered in most superflex at 2 tight end or 2 QB leagues. So
yeah, decent rushing floor as well.
Yeah,
he's a pretty good scrambler.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, my QB and finish this out is Sam Darnold, Carolina Panthers, 37% roster.
Didn't we have him on here last week?
Leader. We did.
Yep.
We did. I told him, everybody pick him up.
It's the same things. Yeah,
the league leader in rushing touchdowns is no other than Sam Darnold.
Yep.
As everyone predicted.
Yeah.
Including, of course.
Oh, yeah,
obviously.
of course.
We're talking everybody.
Oh, yeah.
In any position. But this should be the last week he's going to be on here, Kyle. This should be the last week. He's getting it done on the ground and in the air. I would hope it's the last week.
I would hope it is. People are ignoring
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he finally did what I asked him to do, and that is get Robbie Anderson some targets. Granted, he did not have that much success with those targets, but I do believe a balanced attack in this offense is what they're going to need.
Did you call him up and say, hey, man, did you forget about Robbie? Did you give him a call and say, hey, did you forget about Robbie?
Hey, Mr. Joe Brady, why don't you pass it to Robbie Anderson a little bit more? Let's make sure Darnold can sling it all over the place because DJ Moore is an absolute stud. He is. And as soon as CMC comes back, he gets his little safety blanket back. I think that's just going to be even better for him week in and week out. So I think he's going to provide some mid to low end QB1 for the rest of the year. I mean, he went from one of the worst play callers in the league with Adam Gase
history to
one of the best in the offensive coordinator in Joe Brady. Sorry, in history.
What was his name again? Is Adam Gase?
Yeah.
That's right. He's the worst. Still is.
Yep.
Still is. He's a career killer. And everybody who leaves Adam Gase does better. It's amazing. So, yeah. All right, guys. That's going to do
that really terrible movie with Dane Cook, I think it was, where every person that he dated, the next person that they dated would marry her. Oh,
yeah. All right. I don't know that movie. Not up on my Dane Cook trivia.
It was quite bad.
Yeah, sounds like it. Not really my type of movie there, Justin, but you have had it, man. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week on the waiver wire episode. Hopefully that's some names that can help you out. Obviously, there's a ton of names available this week. Hopefully you don't need anybody, but if you're like Justin, you've had a couple hundred injuries and you need somebody off the waiver wire. Just don't blow your budget and check us out next time. We've got the Thursday Night Football breakdown for you, starts and sits. We'll see you then. Bye.
See ya.